If you don't think about how AI and your team work together, AI is going to make that decision for you. And that's already happening. Right now, most business owners feel pressure from one side. If I don't implement AI, I'm going to fall behind. And that's true. If you're not already thinking about AI in your business, you will fall behind. There's another side to this conversation that almost no one is addressing. Your people. They're hearing the headlines. They're seeing the news. They're wondering what this means for their jobs. So while leaders are thinking about speed and efficiency, employees are thinking about security and survival. The tension is real, and when it's not addressed, fear fills the gap. This is why AI isn't just a technology problem. It's an org chart problem. It's a leadership problem. And it's a change management problem. Before we talk about tools or automation or efficiency, we need to start with one thing. The biggest misconception leaders have when they hear the phrase AI-powered organization. My name is Jim Ahlin. I'm the host of the Roofing Success Podcast, and I'm back again with Rosalynn Verges of the AI Roofing Revolution.
Back. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this one. Definitely an area that's near and dear to my heart, Jim.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. HR and people are like
kind of my jam.
It's your jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you love process and you love people, and then now you think about how AI reimagines that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We found my sweet spot, I think.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what excites you, right? Like these are the things that excite you. And how to integrate the two things together. Yeah. And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge over the coming years.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fear.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of fear from the business ownership level of, and if I don't implement AI, I'm going to fall behind, as we've already talked about. You will fall behind if you're not implementing AI in your business already. But then there's this other part of it, and it's on the news.
Yeah.
It's the job loss that's coming, and will AI replace the people? And so your people, your team, that's their concern, right? There's a big threat. We talked about a SWOT analysis on the last one. That's their threat, right?
Yep.
Like there is a big threat for them. And so, I know that you, throughout the years, have focused on change management and really getting that right. And this accelerates that in a lot of ways. And so let's start off with, kind of identifying automation opportunities, but without losing the human element.
Yeah, Jim. And I love what you're saying, because I think, as we talk about this concept of reimagining the organization, I think for some, our mindset goes to like, oh, we just don't need employees anymore. We're going to just I'm going to shed everything. And then for employees, the reason they have that fear is because it's not being talked about from their leadership. I think we talked about in a previous episode that only 12% of people are getting trained on how to use AI.
Yep.
And so that tells me that organizations probably aren't directly speaking to their employees about how they see them being a part of the future of the organization. And so if you're not casting them into your future vision, we talked about the strategic planning and that vision that you have for your company. If you're not casting your employees into that vision, well, then they have every reason to be concerned, right? And if you're not, and then if you're not communicating that vision to your employees, they're left to fill in those gaps. And I think a lot of times we do replace that empty space with fear and uncertainty, even if we maybe feel like things are good and we are like, oh, they'd probably never do anything like that. There's still that maybe. And that's a yucky feeling for employees. And so I think there's just so much opportunity for us to get ahead of that conversation by being diligent in starting with that reimagination step. Because if we do that, then we have a better understanding as organizations for what that vision looks like. I think a lot of times right now, it's like, well, how can I cast that vision? I don't even know. I don't even know what that means. But the reason I love this topic is I spent a lot of my career helping organizations document their processes and then how their people fit into those processes, right? An exercise that we call role mapping. I've done for hundreds of organizations, right? Where we've gone through and we've identified like who in your organization is responsible for what in your organization. How does your organization function? And what needs to happen in order for those things to get done, right? And it's people. You usually need the people aligned to those processes and those responsibilities in order to make that outcome happen. And so when we're talking about this concept of reimagining the organization, that's what we're talking about, is we're talking about looking at your processes. And one of the ways we talk about it on the AI roofing revolution side of things is looking for those AI enhancements, right? What can we do to enhance these roles and responsibilities, these duties that our teams have in order to get that AI lift? And I always say to kind of give them time back. I think for a lot of us in our organizations, we've had these very long someday lists, right? I call it my someday list. Someday I'm going to get to that. I wish I was doing this. Oh, I just wish I had more time for that. Until you get to a place where you have nothing on your someday list, you shouldn't be thinking about cutting your employees, right? You should be thinking about how are you going to get through that someday list and then go ahead and start deciding, do I need this employee? Do I not need this employee, right? But first, I would start with utilizing our employees to help us improve our processes. Because ideally, if you've been a leader of an organization that has multiple employees for a while now, the reality is that you probably don't have a very close pulse on every step of that process anymore, right? And so are you the best person to identify where AI enhancements can come from? Or could you be empowering your employees to help you identify those enhancements and help you bring about that change so that they are this human-centric part of that vision of integrating AI into your business strategy?
Yeah, bringing them into the loop. Now, people might that are listening might think, well, that's easy when you have 20 employees or 50 employees or 1,000 employees.
Yeah.
Right. But there's 3 of us, right? Yeah. This is our org chart is 3 of us, right?
Right.
Like how do you think about it in that? Like I always, I'm a big fan of ELS and the accountability chart. And so, we're sitting in a lot of seats.
Yes. Which is why I love thinking about it more in terms of duties.
Got it.
Because
that's the seat.
Yeah, that's the seat analogy. Yep. Because the reality, exactly. Like whether you're a company of 12, 2, or 200, the things that need to happen in order for your business to run effectively are pretty consistent, right? And I would say that's true whether you're selling roofs or popsicles or, whatever. Most of us have some type of marketing we're responsible. Most of us have some type of sales that we're, sales elements we're responsible, production elements we're responsible, customer service elements that we're responsible for, some type of finance and accounting has to happen. Hopefully you're, doing your AR and your AP, whether you're 2 people, 1 person, or 200, right? And then again, each of these departments, there's opportunities to find AI enhancements within each of those areas. And so totally agree. But I would also say sometimes a little easier when you have a smaller team, because again, you are all a little closer to understanding how the entire, how it gets made. Right.
Definitely.
And so it can provide for that continuity if you have a smaller team. And if you have a larger team, it can probably provide for some of that specialization within it. And you might get really micro enhancements in your AI, but each person is kind of moving the dial across those things.
In this process, I think the step that gets skipped is documenting the processes, right?
Yeah.
If you're in a larger organization, maybe a lot of processes have already been documented, and you're working from there.
Yeah.
But at a smaller organization, a lot of times the processes have not even been documented.
Yeah.
For each of those roles. Yeah. So where do they go with that? How do they start with that? What's the process?
Yeah. Pro tip: you can use AI, Jim. You can actually be utilizing AI to document your processes. I mean, one of the ways we talk about this in our AI Foundations course is we talk about utilizing transcripts. I love the ability to just turn on a camera, talk about what I'm going through, what the steps are. I can walk through it. I can record screen, right? Even if you have access to something like Zoom or Google Meet, if I have that companion turned on that's recording my transcript, now I can be recording my video. I can have the transcript running as I'm going. And now my process is documented.
Yeah.
I just did this example in an AI Foundations class this week where I verbally talked through. So you can turn on the dictation feature of your LLM. And I verbally talked through how we care for the chickens at our house, right? And it was just this long litany of me blah, blah, blahing. I went through, I took out some yap parts, and then I submitted it to my LLM and asked it to put it into a step-by-step process for me. It gave me the purpose, it gave me the scope, and then it gave me a step-by-step. And it was done for me, just like that.
And it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really amazing. So now, where does like role mapping come into play between like the AI augmentation, like using agents and the people?
Yeah, I think if you have a really good understanding of who is responsible for what in your organization, you can start to identify the tasks, responsibilities that are highly repetitive, highly administrative, tasks that AI gets right really well.
Yeah.
So, we talked about in the first episode, kind of some of those AI buckets that we teach around in the AI Foundation, things like how to use AI for data analysis and how to use AI to do deep research and how to use AI to do copywriting. There's different tweaks in how we utilize our AI tools to get more out of them for each of these different ways. Again, I can just throw in a quick lazy prompt, or I can have a really nice, rich prompt that's going to give me the outcome that I'm looking for, right? And so if I understand what AI is really good at, now I can look at my list of roles and responsibilities and I can say, oh, well, this duty is highly repetitive. This duty actually fits really great at, it aligns really well with what AI is really good at. And so let's maybe hand that off to either an AI agent or an AI automation, or even just a simple recurring AI tool that is running again and again on a schedule.
What is AI good at?
Yeah, well, I listed some of our buckets.
Not?
Yeah. Right. What is it not good at? It's not very human yet. It's getting more human. But I think, there was Moderna had gone through, this was in the news, that they laid off a ton of people on their customer service side of their business in order to replace them all with AI. And they were able to do it, right? Like AI physically could do every step of the process. But what they found is that customers really wanted the choice. They wanted the option, right? I think about in my dynamic in my home, my husband wants that robot all day long. Give me that chatbot. He's in for it. He loves that not having to talk to a person.
Yes.
I get on the phone with customer service representative. I just how can I hit that zero enough times until I can talk to a person? And so what they found is people just want the choice. They want to get to opt into a human or opt into some type of AI tool. And so they ended up actually recalling some customer service staff, and AI took over every other part of the process except for that human interaction. Yep. And so really, as we're looking at our processes, we should be identifying those places where it's really important to stay human-centric. And I would also say we really need to be looking for those opportunities that need to be, or those moments in the process that require human in the loop. And so what I mean by human in the loop is this concept that you need before the AI automation or the agent or whatever tool you're using, before it moves on, a human needs to visually intercede, right? Or visually, verbally, whatever, have some type of interaction with that content, and it approves it. It says yes before it moves forward, right? And so that's this concept of human in the loop, which is super important when we're talking about, we use the word AI hygiene in our organization a lot. And what that means is we're looking for hallucinations. We're keeping it clean, right? If we think about hygiene, you want your AI to be clean, your results to be clean, your output to be clean. Again, a lot of our tools, when we're talking about generative AI, it's common for them after a certain number of times of doing something to have a breakdown.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure, since they're not 100% reliable all of the time, that we're identifying where in the process is it really important that we have someone intervening and doing a quality check and inspection, right, before it moves on to that next step.
And I think that's really what we're talking about today in reimagining your org chart. That ability of AI and humans working together is where the power is. Like on the AI voice side, from some of the stuff we're building, we're looking at a new tool or a new API that we can add in, and it's a human in the loop while someone is on the phone with AI. If there's any struggles, like AI has a terrible time with email addresses.
Sure.
From voice AI.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep,
like if it's not typed in, like it has a terrible time with
Sure.
addresses, email addresses, names, sometimes things like that. And there's a platform that we just found that essentially a function can get called and that can get kicked over to a human for validation quick and sent back to the AI fully validated by a human, because there's still a gap.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think anytime you want to just like protect the quality, protect the output, especially if it's customer facing, anything that you need to do that for, you should really be considering how you will be doing that human in the loop interaction. So I love that they're continuing to create more tools that do that handoff.
I think it's going to become more and more popular, because I
agree. People
don't know what it's capable and not capable of yet.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and we've had this conversation, like with Power Up Agents, with the voice AI that we're building. It's like, my goal is to build the most helpful, not the most human, like the most helpful. And I feel like that's helpful. Handing off to a person sometimes that's a helpful thing. So that interaction between the two is really where a lot of the benefit is going to come. Because there's an exponential curve to it. In productivity. When you utilize what AI is good at, add a human in for what it's not good at, and then those humans are spending their time very wisely and solving bigger problems. Right?
Yeah, and especially, Jim, I think as our world does move toward AI adoption, people are, my son and I kind of play this game of like, is that AI or is it not? Like when you're looking at images or videos that are generated, general content, right? It's like becoming hard to tell. I did a really fun kind of test with Nano Banana or Gemini's Image Flash 2.5 when that came out. And I took a picture of our shed. We were, getting it all situated. And I had these chairs that I had found, at Home Furniture. And then I had the space, and I had a picture of the chairs and a rug. And then I took this picture and my dog's laying in the front of it. And I fed it into Nano Banana and asked it to place that furniture. And then I ended up buying those chairs, and I went back and I took the same shot. I mean, it is hard to tell. The scale is a little bit different if you're looking closely and But if I wouldn't have told you, you would have totally thought it was the same picture. I had just pulled the tape off the floor. They looked at that close. And so I think as the blur between AI generated and real becomes harder to tell. People are going to crave real. They're going to crave the human. They're going to crave that interpersonal connection. And so as you're thinking about your organizations and how you're adopting AI, I would really encourage you to think about that as your lens of like, where are those moments that we're creating in our customer journey, in our employee journey, that are authentic, that are real, that feel meaningful, and really give people something that they can hold on to.
I think so. Now we're where this is going, it makes me think of like, I don't know if everyone can be in charge of this. Right? Like if everyone in your organization is in charge of helping to develop this? So like, are there new roles that you see that may need to be created in the age of AI?
Yeah, I do think there will be new roles that will come out of this. One thing that I would say is there's this balance, just like in our organization. I think it's the same as other initiatives. And what people sometimes forget when we're talking about AI training and AI adoption is that at the heart of what you're trying to do is you're asking people to change behaviors. You're asking them to take a process the way that they've always done it and now do it a different way, right? And for any of us who have tried adopting or implementing a new CRM, tell me how that goes.
Yeah.
Or you changed your sales process and you want your team to follow it. Tell me how that goes, right? Like, it takes time for us to change behaviors, to make a behavioral shift. And if you think about the diffusion of innovation, which is it's a bell curve, people are adopting change at different rates within your organization. So you're going to have some people that are going to be really early adopters. They're going to be on board. And then you're going to have your laggards that you're like, oh my goodness, are we ever going to start doing the thing? And so coming back to kind of this change management concept, right? As a leader in the organization, it is your responsibility to work your employees through those various stages of change to manage the change adoption within your organization. And so sometimes we hear, I was at this great AI event, and somebody stood up and they're like, I'm our organization's new AI champion, and I'm supposed to figure it all out. I was like, oh my goodness, this poor person. Like, I'm so sorry. So what it should not be, your AI strategy should not fall onto one person. Yeah. And AI adoption in your company should not fall onto the shoulders of one person. Just like any change in your organization, leading the way, the vision for that, the strategy, the reinforcement and accountability, that should always come from your leadership team. You are the one, as an owner, as a leadership team, who needs to provide that direction, right? You need to provide the how, the what, the banks of the river. A lot of times we talk about, right? Like, you can navigate anywhere within the banks, but you need to stay within the banks of the river. And so that organizationally is the responsibility of the leadership. Having an AI champion, though, who can kind of be that intermediary is really smart. Right.
Yep.
But you can't put the strategy, the approval of like, yes, we're doing this, or no, we're not doing that, on the shoulders of one AI champion. I would really think of your AI champion more as like a project management, like somebody with really good project management skills. And a passion for understanding AI is somebody who I would look at as kind of nominating as our internal AI champion, someone who's really good at helping people prioritize and deploying resources. They're going to be that kind of liaison between your everyday individual contributors. And then, again, this is where I would say you want to empower your employees to understand where and how they can be using AI, where you want to see them find those efficiencies, and, maybe where you're not. One of the things that we love to encourage teams that are adopting AI to do is start to implement this as part of your meetings, right? And you don't need to have a separate meeting. We're doing too many meetings, folks. Less meetings, right? But if you do an L10 or you do some type of weekly meeting with your team where you're looking at metrics and you're talking about what's working in your business and, what's not working as you're working toward your strategic planning goals, which you should be. You should be doing some type of meeting like that where you're talking about your measurements, right? As a layer of that, if you've developed your AI strategy, now you can be having that kind of be the metrics within your meeting to say, like, are we on pace? Are we adopting the things that we want to be adopting? And so if your employees understand where and how they're a part of that vision, they can individually be making strides. Just like, again, anything else we would do in our organization. It's the same principles. We always say, like, it's age-old business wisdom combined with cutting-edge technology.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked about documenting processes. We talked about understanding the change in your org chart and how the human and probably the best solution is human and AI together. Yeah. Not just AI, not just humans. To getting that blend. So doing proper role mapping, understanding your processes like we talked about, keeping humans in control of the quality, maybe developing like a role that that's an AI champion, that's more of a project manager of making sure that AI is being implemented effectively along with your strategy, not as your strategist.
Yep.
And I think that's a great place to move on, because I think we need now to understand that AI math and setting goals, tracking that ROI, measuring progress, something for that AI champion to really grasp onto and take a hold of that. So we'll be doing that in the next episode.
Can't wait.